what's going on? It's your man A and J here, and this is where you come if you want the best of pro wrestling and sports talk, or sports and pro wrestling talk. I mean, doesn't matter which order you have it in, it still works. And of course, speaking of what works, we're going to just get right into things real quick here. I want to talk about Natalya as pictured with, Masha Slamovich here. She had some pretty interesting things to say recently in terms of WrestleMania plans when it comes to the women here. And I guess there's some women that seem to be pretty frustrated when it comes to said WrestleMania plans. And I'm not going to go into full detail, but just to paraphrase, she talked about how there are men that have two, maybe even three things going into WrestleMania, which is actually true depending on what situation that we're talking about here. But it's just really, really funny to me because, of course, we saw her at the Rumble, but not a whole lot of her since then. In fact, we've been getting a bit more and more of Alexa Bliss, but I'm not sure to what extent because she was moved to SmackDown. I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm not sure if she's going to wind up becoming part of the Wyatt Six like a lot of people have been expecting. But hopefully that's something that could actually put some sort of energy into counteracting what Natty here is saying. Now, one exception to this that I can think of, I think that's pretty obvious for all of us, is the situation regarding Bianca, Naomi. They, of course, are the reigning defending women's tag team champions right now. And in addition to that, both are also in the Elimination Chamber match coming up this Saturday. Now, and then there's also the Jade Cargill situation, but for me, I'm not real sure. It's just real funny to me because there's been so much talked about as far as the bad booking decisions, quote unquote, for the AEW women's division, and that's been valid. At least up until recently, that's been valid. They're starting to cook with that a little bit more so now, especially if you watched last night, which I'll kind of go into here a bit more in a little bit. Well, actually, I'm not even going to wait till that. I mean, if you think about the situation with last night, the only real folly that I can think of was at the end of the Megan Bayne-Chris Statlander match where, of course, you had Penelope Ford costing Chris Statlander the match, but then you have Thunder Rosa come out with a chair. She's trying to force them out of the ring, but they don't go nowhere. What the fuck are we doing, ladies? Come on now, figure this shit out. Y'all are like at a point to where y'all are getting to your hottest. I mean, bringing in Megan Bayne was really, really huge. Now you're starting to see Thunder Rosa back. You had a banger match between Harley Cameron and Mercedes Moné for the TBS title. And let's not even get started on Timeless Toni Storm, who is basically setting up for new contenders and is moving on apparently from Mariah May. Would have been nice to see her pull up just to say not so much on that, which I wouldn't mind, but hey, who knows what we get. We still got a lot going on, Revolution's coming up, and by the way, they did announce, Arizona Republic did report that AEW's Double or Nothing will be taking place May 25th in Glendale, Arizona. I forget the name of the venue, but we'll talk about that one later. Either way, if this is the case, it's just kind of wild that NXT is considered the hottest women's division if all of this is going on the main roster here, which is just really, really wild, but hey, I guess it is what it is. That being said, we're going to actually focus on AEW shit for the rest of this video here, where we got to talk about my man Speedball Mike Bailey. As it turns out, obviously he was slated to be a part of the Continental Classic. Unfortunately, that obviously didn't happen. This has now been clarified being due to visa issues, which AEW is working to help Mike Speedball Bailey out with that as we speak. And with that being the case, I gotta imagine it's not a matter of if, but when we end up seeing one Speedball Mike Bailey on AEW airwaves. Now, what I will say for this is that this is kind of wild because I honestly was expecting and to a degree hoping that he would go to NXT because I feel like his best opportunity for growth would be there. However, much like the situation regarding Walking Weapon Josh Alexander, I'm guessing the money wasn't right. So, what are you going to do? You got to go where the money's at. And I've said before, I don't give a shit where any of these people go, as long as they're happy and everything else around that reflects it. Now, with that being said, I got to imagine that when we do get Speedball Mike Bailey on TV, it's going to be interesting to see how he fits into the mid-card picture, because that's got to be where he goes. He's got to go directly into the mid-card picture. Doesn't matter if it's the TNT title. I don't think it'll be the Continental or International titles, because there are obvious plans for that. But either way, getting him in on that would be huge. And really, for my money, Daniel Garcia and Mike Speedball Bailey, or Speedball Mike Bailey, I don't know why I keep doing that, but I think that's a banger idea right there. Come on, TK, let's get on that. Let's get on that now. Speaking of TK, get on that, let's talk about what he's really been on with Ricochet. If you watched last night, you saw what had to have been considered, wow, I'm sorry, I just got distracted by some stuff I saw on Sports Center here, which I'll talk about in my next video. But anyway, if you saw last night's episode, you caught a masterpiece of a fucking promo / segment with Ricochet. He came out, of course, he's still wearing the Prince Nana sacred robe, and Prince Nana even came out to confront Ricochet to try to get the robe back. And Ricochet was like, nah, we ain't doing that shit. You ain't getting this robe back. Please act like I give any kind of fucks. And to me, just beautiful shit all around. I mean, I don't know any other way to look at it. Now, here's another thing. I know I've said before, especially earlier in the week, that I was coming through with a video talking about why people like Ricochet and Josh Alexander and others going to AEW is not a mistake, as a lot of people have been pointing out. Darren! Anyway, this has got to be evidence of that. And if it's not, I don't know what the fuck y'all are watching. I really don't at this point. Because, for me, I'm thinking about his WWE run. He didn't do shit remotely close to this. Not even in the slightest. I mean, they had him having run-ins with the Hurt Syndicate, and of course, he got picked on quite a bit, and they told him no, because MVP told him nobody likes a kiss ass, which he's right about that, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. That wound up being the thing that kind of catapulted this dude, because look at what he's doing right now. And with a main eventer the likes of Swerve Strickland, former world champion Swerve Strickland, soon to be two-time world champion Swerve Strickland at some point. I don't know if it happens this year, but it's definitely happened at some point. Please believe that. But either way, as I said earlier, where you sign, where you go, is entirely up to you. All I give a shit about is that you're happy, and that everything else around it reflects that. I don't know any other way to look at that. I don't know any other way to say it. And like I said, this isn't even me picking apart all the whole going to AEW was a mistake for certain folks. Believe me, if I'm being perfectly honest as far as that goes, I still haven't even cracked the code on how I'm going to do that yet. That's the funny part. But yet, this sort of shit right here is pretty much giving me all the ammo that I need. Now, in all fairness, I will admit, what happens after this feud ends is what's going to tell the tale on all this. I will be very, very remiss if I didn't say that much. So I'll leave it there for now, and with that in mind, if you guys, you know, I've been calling for y'all to let me know what y'all think about that. Where y'all at? Where y'all at? Come on now. I know I'm not just talking to a wall on this shit, although it kind of seems like it at times. But y'all know what it is. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think down below, especially if you enjoyed. With that in mind, I'm A&J, and I appreciate you spending this time with me.